Now to Venezuela, where the body of the late President Hugo Chavez is to be embalmed and put on display after his funeral, which takes place later today. Of course, the body won't be buried. The decision reflects the vast crowds who've been queuing up to pay their respects in the capital, where he's lying in state. Now, Mr. Chavez's body will then be moved to a military museum following this ceremonial funeral. The BBC's Will Grant reports now from the capital, Caracas.
The government had called for a celebration of Hugo Chavez, and it was certainly that. Rather than the funereal black, the colour of choice was red. Socialist red, the colour of the revolution. They came from across Venezuela, and by any means they could. And they were prepared to wait for as long as it took to say goodbye to a man they credit for pulling them out of poverty.
People have spent hours flocking down from the hillsides of Caracas to take a final look and to say a last adios to the man they credit for changing their lives and for empowering the poor in Venezuela.
Some of his most ardent supporters were overcome with emotion after seeing his remains.
It's sad, because this is the last time that I'll see his body and his face, singing and fighting for the rights of the people and of the nations around the world.
So many turned out, in fact, that the government took a radical decision. Mr. Chavez's remains would stay lying in state for another 7 days.
El comandante Chávez va a estar en posibilidad de ser visto.
The Venezuelan people will be able to see Commander Chavez for at least another 7 days, so that everyone can see him without limitations.
Ninguna limitación. Hay de verdad millones. Y de verdad.
Millions have been queuing to see him, and we want that everyone who wants to see him can.
Heads from as many as 33 states around the world are due to send representatives to the funeral, from close allies such as Evo Morales of Bolivia to Mr. Chavez's bitter enemy, the United States. But in death, political differences have been put to one side briefly to pay respects to Chavez the man, if perhaps not Chavez the politician. Meanwhile, the faithful, ordinary people who have been queuing around the clock to glimpse Mr. Chavez have been granted another week to say goodbye. Will Grant, BBC News.
Well, a spectacle in the streets and plazas of Caracas on Wednesday as the coffin carrying Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez was moved to a military academy to lie in state. Throngs of mourners lined the procession route, many crying openly as the flag-draped coffin passed by. Shasta Darlington has more now from the Venezuelan capital.
Draped in Venezuela's yellow, blue and red flag, the casket carrying the late President Hugo Chavez began its journey through the capital. Venezuelans poured into the street, tens of thousands of mourners wearing red T-shirts and baseball caps, the unofficial uniform of Chavez's socialist revolution. An outpouring of tears and grief. Chavez provided education, homes and health care, paid for by Venezuela's considerable oil reserves. But Chavez also left a country divided, with the economy in tatters and violence running out of control.
And Venezuela is observing 7 days of mourning for Mr. Chavez. The country has also banned the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages during that time. On Thursday, Mr. Chavez's body will continue to lie in state at the military academy in Caracas. World leaders and dignitaries will attend a state funeral on Friday before Mr. Chavez is laid to rest.